Finally getting his turn with the tune-up treatment, it is the original Dragon Fighter and the second model introduced in the Digimon Collaboration. It is DGM01 Grey Wars REGRADED, with a kit of perfect guard, double charge claw, biped legs, and the leg ability of adversity, which buffs all leg stats minus armor and heavy limit for every debuff applied to self. Now, Grey Wars was a model that has a lot of very mixed versatility. On one hand, he could absolutely hit like a truck very easily under the right conditions, or he could be the greatest defender on the team as long as he had head charges. But his overall leg speed made it really hard for him to be able to maintain that requirement and roll on the field for a number of reasons. But with the return of the 2024 Digimon Collaboration, Grey Wars, alongside Omega Knight and Garuru Metal, got an all-stat boost that most certainly brought him back up to speed to stay up to par with the big dogs, and guarantee that this Dragon Fighter can most certainly hold his own in any situation he's put in. Perfect Guard on the head part is a defense-based skill that, as long as Grey Wars is placed on the center line, he will intercept the next 2 hits and nullify them at 0 damage, making him a very solid defender if you need one in a pinch, and guarantee that he's going to protect all of his allies any chance he gets. Now, the only drawback to this is that because it is a non-meta change type shield, this does mean that Grey Wars is susceptible to anyone that is using, say, Terminate, or Disaster, or Destroy, or anything else of the like to cancel him or auto-break him out of that defense stance. And if they bring any of those skills, well, this Dragon Knight will unfortunately have a weakness very easily exploited, much like any other non-meta change type shield, but still very solid all the same. Charge Claw on both arms are charge-reliant scatter-type attacks that will damage one part normally and then 2 others randomly for extra damage. Now, it does fall in the same vein as, say, like Charge Blade and Charge Buster, which means that it will consume a very small amount of charge, between 5 and 10% of your charge gauge upon use, but for what it consumes, it will draw upon the power of your charge gauge and everything that's in it for bonus damage to make it even more painful every time that he goes to strike. So if you pair this off with, say, a Hunter or a Sniper Nature Metal, this can be a very powerful attack that will get stronger the more things he breaks and the more charge that Grey Wars has in his gauge. Biped legs means that Grey Wars will have very solid coverage across all terrains remarkably well, and some pretty solid stats in addition to that. And that is before considering the new all-stat boost that he gets to really bring him up to speed to stay with the big dogs in current competitive meta. Now, the leg ability of adversity is kind of weird on Grey Wars though, because it sadly does not synergize with his kit as a whole, but if used correctly can be a very good life insurance policy, so that if the enemy is trying to use any kind of negative ailments, such as, say, fire, wave, deathlock, or hold, or anything else of the like, for every negative ailment that they try to slap Grey Wars with and hold him down, only makes him stronger. So he'll get progressively faster, he'll be able to dodge just a little easier, and his already very good damage reduction will get even better the more stress he's put under and the longer the fight drags on. Now, when it comes to his tune-up bonuses, Grey Wars actually is a model that really benefits from the kind of bonuses and perks that he has available to him. Whether it ranges from additional bonuses for his head to additional damage bonuses for his arms, all the same, he's a model that's going to most certainly benefit and capitalize on what more he can bring to the table when fully tuned. His head has the opportunity to earn 300 in armor, plus 100 to heat and cool each, and 1 extra head use. Now, Grey Wars has already been obscenely stellar in the current competitive meta, and it's something that you still will see even to this day for those OG veterans that have been around since the first run, because it has 3 uses and some very impressive heat and cool stats on top of that, which means he can pop this off very quickly. So, that being said, it's honestly very obvious that the extra head use and the bonuses to heat and cool are the obvious things you really want to push for when tuning that perfect guard head. 4 free charges, which is basically 8 free hits that don't auto-cancel or auto-break him, and boosting his heat and cool means he can fire this off a whole lot faster than he could before. Even if it's just a slightly higher bonus, that slightly higher speed will often come in handy when it comes down to the wire. His right and left arms are honestly almost identical as far as their bonuses are concerned, sans one minor stat change. They both have the opportunity to earn 200 in armor, the right arm at 200 in success, left at 100, and they also have 100 in power to right arm, 200 to left, but both can also earn a CG into bonus power by 50%. Now, as if that already wasn't enough, Charge Claw and basically any other kind of charge-related attack is going to be reliant on anything in its gauge. So if you have nothing in your gauge when using Charge Claw, it's not going to be super painful. But if you have, say, a full charge, plus this extra 50%, means you're going to be really cooking. And you're going to be putting it very, very closely to even, say, like a pseudo-hyper charge claw in this case, which will absolutely allow Grey Wars to rip, shred, and tear anything that comes or stands in his way. And when it comes to guards, because it's a scatter type skill, means that he's going to be consuming 3 charges of it alongside absolutely hammering that poor shield instead of having his damage reduced just by standing in his way. So that being said, it honestly does tie into bonus that you really want to go for that charge bonus for his arms overall to really capitalize on it. Now, as far as the other bonuses are concerned, you could go halvesies and go armor on both, success on both, or power on both, and really not go wrong, because they're all very good bonuses and all are going to be pretty notable as far as overall performance is concerned. So while I did mark success on the right arm and power for the left, it's mostly for the extra power and success they grant for higher likelihood of hits and crits and higher base damage before modifiers. His legs have the opportunity to earn a plus 400 in armor, plus 300 each to his melee and his shoot resist. Adversity can get an extra 13% per stat boost triggered, and of course S rank on grassland terrain. Now, compared to most other models where I tend to advocate for the leg ability for sure getting that tune-up bonus, Grey Wars is a model where if you get it, great, but if not, you really don't have to sweat it all that much. And adversity is something that's nice to have, but it's more life insurance than it is something you actually want to use. Because, being completely honest, you really don't want to have to slap yourself with a bunch of ailments, or be hit with a bunch of ailments that may complicate your role on the field just to get a stat boost to make you faster, more resistant, and more dodgy. So that being said, I honestly would recommend going the Defender and the Paladin route for his legs instead. Focusing instead on the armor and the melee and the shoot resist, making him a whole lot more resistant to damage and keeping his damage on the down low anytime he's attacked so that he's able to stay on the field longer. S rank on grassland terrain, it's nice to have, but it's not something you necessarily need, so I really wouldn't focus too heavily on that, since that extra 10% really won't make or break you compared to an extra 300 in his resistance stats and an extra 400 or so in armor. All this being said, comparing his original pure set and mixed parts scores, I did grade his Grey Wars originally at a 6.5 out of 10 for a lot of reasons that were not in Grey Wars control, such as his lower overall leg mobility and the ability of claws not being all that useful. But with a lot of quality and mechanic life updates that we've gotten since then, Grey Wars is most certainly going to be packing a lot of punches while he's on the field at any time. That being said, I do have to very easily grade him at an 8 out of 10 for his pure set score and a 9.5 out of 10 for his mixed parts scores. Now, Charge Claw is something you probably won't be using actively on both arms at once, but even just using one of them with, say, a full charge head or an auto charge leg or something like that will really allow you to start cooking some extra damage and some very painful damage bonuses on top of that. Plus, having 4 charges of perfect guard and some boosted heat and cool stats, that's honestly really hard to beat. Same can be said for his already very chunky legs and very solid damage reduction, becoming even harder to break and easier to keep the damage on the down low.